I've been seeing this sound on TikTok a lot lately. Adorable, right? But what does this trend have to do with plagiarism, Art Tatum, the Soviet Union, and a lost work from Dmitri Shostakovich that was written on a bet? If that sounds as confusing yet intriguing to you as it does to me, then buckle up. Let's dive in. So the trend on TikTok uses this song written by what appears to be like a stock music creator from the UK called Cavendish Music. The song that they wrote is called Love Letter, and it sounds like this. What a nice, it's just like nice and light, kind of just little swing thing, you know? But here's the thing, it's like 3 notes away from being straight up plagiarism. Now, did Cavendish Music plagiarize this song? No. But was it clearly a remake of another very famous jazz standard? Yes. The tune in question here is a 1924 composition called Tea for Two. Tea for Two was written by a Broadway composer named Vincent Youmans, and it was written for the show No No Nanette. And in 1925, one of the first recordings of this tune by Marion Harris was #1 on the US billboards for 11 weeks, and it sounded like this.
Take your fee upon your knee, just me for two, and you for me, just me for you, and you for me alone.
Yeah, that's what a #1 hit sounded like in 1925. So the styles are so different here that it might not yet be that obvious as to how these two are related. But if we go back to Love Letter, right? And then we go to the Marion Harris recording of Tea for Two.
Take your fee upon your knee.
Right, so we have... Now, if we translate that into the same key as Love Letter, we can start to hear the similarities a little more clearly. Compare that to... Both melodies are using the exact same chord progression, which goes... Now, of course, in and of itself, none of that is plagiarism. After all, you cannot copyright a chord progression, and a melody just has to be different than the melody that was originally written. So no copyright infringement going on here, but it's very clear that this is just another version of Tea for Two without it actually being Tea for Two. And in case we needed any more proof that that's exactly what's going on here, when we listen to the next part of the original...
Nobody near us to see us or hear us, no friends or relations on weekend vacations.
So we get basically the same melody, except instead of being... we now go up a major third. Once again, let's move this into the key that Love Letter is written in, and we can really see what's going on here. After we have that first section, we move the whole thing up a major third into the key of C. And if we listen to Love Letter, where do we go next? C major. Exactly the same chord progression. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with Cavendish Music creating another version of Tea for Two. After all, it's a beautiful chord progression, and this is a beautiful melody. So I'd say they did a great job with it. But it is really interesting in that it uncovers the story behind Tea for Two, which I did not know is nearly as in-depth as it actually is. The next place we're gonna go is to the legendary jazz pianist Art Tatum. And Art did a few different really famous recordings of Tea for Two in 1933, 1939, and again in 1953. But But the one I want to focus on is actually a 1939 version that most people have never even heard before. It is so sick, and it goes like this. Woohoo! Yikes! Alright, so it's really out of tune. We're gonna have to deal with that, right? Wow, okay, so without getting too into the weeds on the insane technique of Art Tatum, the thing I want to point out about this version of T for Two is what Art does the second time around. Check this out. What? Okay, hold on. The song goes... But Art just completely changed the harmony and did something that for 1939 was like a good 20 years ahead of its time. I mean, Art was just on a whole other level when it comes to harmony. Instead of just sticking in A flat, our home base, 2, 5, 2, 5, 1, 4, 3, 6, 2, 5, 2, 5, 1. It's very, very conventional chord progression. Extremely simple. And Art said, that's not good enough for me. I want to take it to the next level. And instead of playing it that way, Art played 2, 5, another 2, 5, but now up a half step. Okay, crazy. Now another 2, 5, but up a whole step. And then just walked it down chromatically. Now notice the way that he did that, he wound up back at A flat major 7, the chord it's supposed to end on. So he looked at this thing and he was like, all right, I could play... or some version of an Art Tatum run, but he said that's kind of boring. I don't want to just stick in A flat. Why don't I just move all over the place, and as long as I end up back at A flat, who cares how we get there? And instead he goes... absolutely insane. Art was just so ahead of his time, operating on a harmonic level that nobody had ever seen before. He absolutely changed the course of jazz and all of music. And it's examples like that that show us exactly why. But that's not even the craziest thing about this song. What does Shostakovich have to do with T for Two? In 1927, a symphonic conductor by the name of Nikolai Malko made a bet with Shostakovich that he couldn't arrange an orchestral version of T for Two in under an hour. Both Shostakovich and Malko had heard the tune in a play at a theater in Moscow in 1927. Now, of course, at the time, the big bad American jazz music was seen very negatively in the Soviet Union. But Malko was one to say that, hey, this foxtrot thing is not bad music. And Shostakovich himself had developed an interest in popular music as well. So the bet was made, and 45 minutes later, Shostakovich emerged with this. You know what's even more impressive about this version? The more impressive thing about this version is that Shostakovich even orchestrated the verse. As with a lot of these popular Broadway songs that would ultimately become jazz standards, the part that became most popular to play was the part after the introduction section, which we call the verse in jazz. Now, a verse in pop music today means something a little bit different. It's sort of the same, it's just structured differently. So Shostakovich actually did the verse here. But when the theme itself comes in, and probably what's going to happen, because this melody is very, it repeats itself a lot and it just moves around in the key. Yeah, we get it passed between parts of the orchestra. It's a very common orchestration technique. But it's just so fascinating to hear this song from somebody like Shostakovich in this context. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, gorgeous. 45 minutes. Ooh! Oh man, 45 minutes to create this. Now, it gets even more interesting from here. First of all, this wasn't known under the name T for Two, because in 1920 Soviet Union, American equals bad, so this was actually called Tahiti Trot. So Shostakovich's version is Tahiti Trot, Opus 16. But it wasn't long before the Soviet Union began to crack down on this so-called foxtrot, or light music as they called it. They thought that it was a gateway to debauchery and drug use. They looked at much of the American style of the Roaring '20s as a bad example of what Russians should not do. And in fear of being seen as a supporter of so-called light music, Shostakovich actually made a public statement that he regretted writing the arrangement and did not want to be seen as a supporter of this light music. Furthermore, he had stated that he had sent demand to Malko to stop performing the piece. Soviet Russia in the 1920s was wild. So the piece stopped being performed, and before too long, it was forgotten. And in fact, by 1942, it was labeled as a lost work of Shostakovich. People knew that it had existed, but there was no trace left. But that's not where the story ended. Nikolai Malko maintained in his memoirs that he had kept the original orchestration of the piece. And after his death, the work resurfaced. And in 1984, almost 60 years after Shostakovich wrote his arrangement, Tahiti Trot, Opus 16, or T for Two, was reborn. And that's how we can hear it today. Oh man. Poor Shostakovich. He probably just felt, fear, first of all. But like, imagine writing something like this and having your literal government be like, yeah, you should probably get rid of that. What a crazy time. But luckily it was saved from being lost forever, and now we get to experience it just like it's brand new. T for Two has such a rich history, and I wouldn't even call it one of the more famous jazz standards. It's a great song that many people know and many people play, but it pales in comparison to the popularity of something like All the Things You Are.
When all the things you are.
Or Autumn Leaves.
Drift by the window.
Still, it's a great song with an absolutely phenomenal chord progression, and when you use some incredibly inventive tools like Art Tatum used, it can go to some really, really amazing places. Pretty crazy, all from a few TikToks about babies seeing the inside of washing machines, huh? Music is cool. So cool, in fact, that I run this entire channel on the premise of sharing music and sharing the things that excite me about music. And in the past, I've supported this YouTube channel in the maybe more traditional YouTube sense of like taking sponsorships, for example. But I always thought it would be just so much cooler if I could create something that I made and make it directly for you. And I wanted to create something that would give you the tools to do exactly what I do in these videos, which is listen to music and just kind of know how it's constructed, and being able to use the piano to demonstrate and build these things so that you can play them. And that is why I built the Intro to Piano course. And right now you can still get 50% off the course using the link in the description below, but that is running out, so be sure to jump over there quickly before time runs out and take advantage of that. And the Intro to Piano course is my packaging of everything that I wished had been explained to me when I started playing the piano. I had great teachers, but over time, certain things worked for me and certain things didn't work for me in terms of understanding all of this stuff. So all of those moments where something just clicked, I took note of that, and the Intro to Piano course is the combination of all of those things that I've discovered in my piano playing career that hopefully can make the process of learning for you way easier and way faster. The course has everything you need to get started playing this instrument, the literal physical process of playing the keyboard, but also it contains all of the things that you need to know about the basic building blocks of music. And the combination of all of that stuff is exactly how I listen to music on this channel and help you understand how it's built. So if you want to do that for yourself with literally anything you listen to, it makes the process of listening to music so much more enjoyable because you actually like understand bits and pieces of what you're hearing. You you can figure things out in real time and you start recognizing things all over in different types of music. It just makes listening to music like the most fun thing ever. And so if you want to experience music on that level too, then start with the Intro to Piano course. Once again, it's 50% off for a very limited time. There's only a few days left for that, so please use that link in the description, check it out. It is the best way to support this channel. It's how I support what I do here and how I'm able to keep doing it. So if you enjoy the videos here and you'd like to support the channel, I am so grateful for that. So thank you so much for checking that out, and thank you for watching this video. That's all for today, and we will see you in the next one.